I've never thought that I made, the most important stamp on pop music or anything like that. But what I did that was different from other people, I think, was that I sang a very diverse.
What happens when the most powerful voice of a generation has no power over love? And why did so many men walk away from a woman who had everything, beauty, talent, and fame? To the outside world, Linda Ronstadt was a legend, beautiful, rich, and adored. But behind the spotlight, one question haunted her life. Why did the men she seduced never stay? She wasn't just chasing love, she was luring it in. She knew how to charm, how to fascinate, how to make men fall. But one by one, they left. Not because she wasn't enough, but maybe because there was something about Linda they couldn't handle. Every love story ended the same, with Linda alone, and another man disappearing into the night. It wouldn't be the last time Linda gave in to strange fascination. Even Frank Zappa's name surfaced at one point, though their rumored liaison was as bizarre as it was brief. It wasn't love, it wasn't passion, it was curiosity colliding with eccentricity. Frank, known for his avant-garde genius and wild intellect, was intrigued by Linda's voice and her unpredictable mind. They met at a small gathering in Topanga Canyon, where music legends mingled like shadows on the wall. For a brief moment, they disappeared together into the haze of the LA night. It didn't last long. Frank was too strange, too abstract, and Linda too emotionally raw. Their connection never got past late-night conversations and the soft suggestion of something more. But it added yet another layer to Linda's chaotic love history, a moment of surreal flirtation with a man who defied labels. A spark in the fog. A chapter that closed almost as soon as it opened. Years later, in a different world, she tried again, with someone far younger and far wilder. Her brief entanglement with a much younger Jim Carrey shocked her inner circle. It happened years later, when Linda was well into her maturity, and Carrey was still rising fast in Hollywood. He was wild, unpredictable, full of kinetic energy. She, elegant and introspective, drawn to depth and meaning. No one expected it, least of all Linda herself. They laughed a lot. His humor was medicine for her, especially in a time when her body was beginning to betray her. But he couldn't go deep. He cracked jokes when she needed real answers, danced around vulnerability, and avoided confrontation. For a while it felt fresh, youthful, even daring. But soon, Linda saw the truth. He wasn't capable of giving her what she needed.
And we just knew about our own little issues. We'd go to Chicago or Detroit or Memphis or wherever we'd go. There would be different places, but we'd stay pretty much the same, keep our own company.
Their romance ended with a soft goodbye, but the echoes of that unlikely chapter followed her for years. And just when things felt quiet, she was pulled into a love story written in silence. A sudden whirlwind with filmmaker George Lucas left fans stunned. They were total opposites. He, shy and reclusive. She, loud and emotionally open. At first, the mystery attracted her. The man who created galaxies far, far away had a calm that soothed her. He invited her into his private world of cinema, science fiction, and long silences. But Linda needed noise, warmth, expression. She spoke with her hands, her eyes, her voice. George, on the other hand, internalized everything. Their relationship quietly imploded under the weight of unspoken needs. No fights, no scandal, just two people, slowly drifting apart across a silent emotional divide. After silence came laughter, but even that couldn't fill the silence in her heart. There was even an awkward chapter with comedian Steve Martin, at first humorous and light, but quickly overtaken by his refusal to take anything seriously. Linda wanted depth. He gave her punchlines. What began as flirty banter turned into empty conversations. He would make her laugh, yes, but she would go home feeling lonely. Their short fling ended with more frustration than feeling. He wasn't cruel, just emotionally unavailable. Another man who didn't know how to stay. Then came a man who could match her mind, but not her heart. Can you truly love someone who lives in his head, when your heart lives on fire? When she tried to find something solid with Albert Brooks, it too collapsed under the pressure of her emotional intensity, clashing with his neurotic humor. Albert was brilliant, no doubt, but brilliant doesn't always mean compatible. His world was ironic, analytical, detached. Linda's was visceral, loud, unapologetically real. They tried, but the more she gave, the more he backed away. In the end, Linda was left with yet another lesson. Even the smartest love can falter when two hearts speak different emotional languages. Each man brought a different kind of chaos into her world, whether it was emotional distance, jealousy, or the simple inability to commit. With some, it was the suffocating pressure of the spotlight. With others, it was personal demons, drugs, fame, insecurity, that turned love into war. And Linda, ever the romantic, kept chasing love like a melody she couldn't get out of her head. And today, decades later, she finally admits it. She had a weakness for wild men, for broken men, and for men who never stayed. As the years passed and the stage lights dimmed, the first true chapter in Linda's romantic journey took shape. But before the headlines, before the chaos, there was the man who sparked it all. Think of California in the 1970s. Sun-drenched skies, political upheaval, and rock music blasting from convertible radios. That's when Linda met Jerry Brown, the then governor of California, a man with sharp intellect, boyish charm, and a monk-like detachment that oddly fascinated her. They seemed like the oddest pair, a hippie-turned-politician and a barefoot country rock goddess, but their chemistry was instant and volatile. Their love was a headline. They flew to Africa together. They appeared at campaign rallies and Hollywood parties arm in arm. Yet underneath the surface, their relationship was filled with quiet tension. Linda wanted love, connection, maybe even stability. But Jerry, always consumed by politics and ambition, remained emotionally distant, calculating, and hard to pin down. He didn't cheat, but he didn't commit either. Their moments together were intense, but fleeting. He would disappear into meetings, into speeches, into policy, and she would be left in the shadows, humming love songs that felt more like goodbye letters. By the early 1980s, it was over. There was no big explosion, just a slow fade. She loved him deeply, but even in private, Linda admitted the truth. Jerry Brown was the first man who taught her that love doesn't always mean being chosen. But if Jerry left her feeling lonely, the next man would do far worse. He would set her world on fire, then vanish into smoke. This time, love came with guitars, lyrics, and a storm that couldn't be tamed. Enter J.D. Souther, a smooth, mysterious singer-songwriter known for his work with the Eagles and his haunting ballads. He wasn't just another rock star. He was a romantic whirlwind in leather boots. Their connection was instant and electric. They wrote songs together, shared laughter, tequila, and hotel room. For a moment, they were inseparable, the golden couple of Laurel Canyon. But behind the scenes, things were fragile. J.D.'s fame and ego were growing. So were rumors of other women. Linda, loyal and deeply sensitive, struggled under the weight of betrayal. Fights escalated. Doors slammed. Tears fell behind, locked bathroom doors. They tried breaking up, but music kept reuniting them until it didn't. Linda finally walked away, heartbroken but wiser. J.D. wasn't just a chapter. He was the one she kept rereading in the dark. And just like that, another bittersweet page in her story turned. But heartbreak doesn't wait, and neither did the next man in her life. Soon, Linda would step into one of her most unexpected entanglements, with a rock and roll icon who could electrify any room. Not all danger wears leather, and the next man Linda fell for was the devil in eyeliner. It began with a glance. She met Mick Jagger in the mid-1970s during a late-night session in Illinois. Hey, the untouchable Rolling Stones frontman. She, the queen of the West Coast. Different worlds, same fire. Their paths crossed in smoky studios and wild parties. Mick was magnetic and reckless. Linda knew the risk, but still, she fell in. For a few intense weeks, they were inseparable. Passion, late-night escapes, and private moments no one else was allowed to see. But Jagger couldn't be tamed. Whispers of other women grew louder. Linda saw the storm coming and walked away before it consumed her. She never spoke much about it. But those close to her say she never forgot the thrill or the sting. But passion has a way of circling back, and the next one came from familiar ground. Next came Don Henley, drummer and voice of the Eagles, a man whose music often mirrored Linda's own heartbreak. Their connection began in studios and concerts, where they crossed paths regularly in the same California rock circles. There was admiration from the start. Don was drawn to Linda's raw honesty. Linda was pulled in by his intensity and poetic soul. They kept their relationship quiet at first. Don was still tangled in other affairs, and Linda was cautious. She'd been burned before. But their chemistry simmered beneath every duet, every shared cigarette, every lingering moment backstage. Eventually, it boiled over into a passionate but secretive affair. It was brief and messy. Don struggled with excess, women, fame, pressure, and Linda saw the red flags too late. The very darkness that gave his lyrics depth was also what tore them apart. The breakup wasn't explosive, just cold. Linda didn't cry. She turned it into silence and braced herself for what came next. Then, out of nowhere, came a man whose sadness mirrored her own. Then there was Lowell George, the soulful leader of Little Feat. He was gentle, troubled, brilliant, and dying slowly, though few admitted it at the time. Linda met him in a quiet moment of her life, when she craved softness, not spotlight. Their romance burned quietly, full of whispered songs and midnight confessions. Lowell was vulnerable in ways no other man had been. He needed her, and she, for once, wanted to save someone. But love doesn't cure addiction. Lowell's health was spiraling. Alcohol, drugs, exhaustion, and Linda watched helplessly as he slipped away. She begged him to slow down, to rest. He promised her he would. He didn't. When Lowell died in 1979, Linda was shattered. It wasn't just grief, it was guilt. She carried that loss for decades, calling it one of the most painful chapters of her life. He wasn't just another man. He was the one who broke her heart by leaving forever. But even in the ashes of grief, another face would appear, offering comfort, connection, or maybe something more. In the calm after the chaos, James Taylor entered Linda's life, not with fire, but with quiet understanding. They shared songs, late-night talks, and a deep emotional connection. But the timing was wrong. James was battling inner demons, and Linda sensed he couldn't fully open up. They drifted, never truly lovers, but more than friends. A lingering, what if that stayed with her for years? Then came Warren Zevon, brilliant, destructive, irresistible. Their fling was wild, chaotic, and doomed. Linda was drawn to his darkness, but quickly realized he couldn't be saved. Their crash was inevitable, leaving her emotionally drained. Finally, came Randy Newman, a man of sharp wit and gentle presence. Their connection was respectful, calm, but hollow. No spark, no tension, just quiet dinners and fading hopes. Another man who couldn't match her fire. And when it was all over, there was just her, and the silence left behind. She didn't get the fairy tale, not the lasting love, not the man who stayed. But maybe that was never the point. What she got was the truth. In every note she sang, in every tear she turned into music. Linda didn't just survive love, she turned it into legend. The men left, the heart broke, but the voice, it never stopped echoing. Because while love betrayed her again and again, Linda Ronstadt became unforgettable.